So last time I talked about an FBA, and basically he was talking about South Africa, and then he's talking about, I forgot which country, but it was in East Africa. And now he's going to talk about black people who live in the UK. And of course, one of the words they use all the time is the word fleer, which basically means you went somewhere else for a better opportunity. Apparently, that's fleeing.
Time we're going to be breaking down, of course, the usual suspects. Black Brits, this time a black British woman who's an actor, comedian. I believe her name is London Hughes or something like that. She's actually living in America. And she's going to be talking about the quote unquote diaspora wars and pretty much blaming it on Black Americans.
If there is a so called diaspora war, I mean, I hate the word war because the word war should be reserved for a war. But if the diaspora wars is started by anybody, I would not necessarily say it's African Americans. And I don't see no diaspora war. All I see is white supremacy cloaked in blackness, where people who really don't care about any causes play a game against black people because they really, really don't care. And then these people, some people use as representatives of the entire black people in that specific nation. Of course, a lot of these people come from completely different countries and land in other countries and have a completely different opinion of their old country or their new country. And then people take them as representatives of their original country. But as we know, for example, if you take Hispanic people, for example, the word chola they use themselves. But if you go back, or cholo, if you go back to those Hispanic countries, that word is like a racist term for Native Americans, which is something I say for a lot of people. You can't take a Nigerian American, right? Someone from Nigeria who moves to America and make him a stand in for someone who is in Nigeria right now and will stay in Nigeria forever.
So we're going to break that down. We're going to take our emotions out of it from a non-emotional standpoint so we can get some education out of this, okay? And we can know how to respond to these typical BS talking points. Let me apologize in advance as well for I might curse sometimes. I know some people be watching me with their kids, X, Y, and Z. I apologize to the babies in advance if I might curse. Sometimes I tend to get a little emotional, but I'm working on that. I'm working.
Yeah, that's one of those things that makes you wonder who exactly is watching, because we've seen some streamers who are really large, and then when they meet their fans in real life, all of a sudden there's like kids repeating stuff that they said, which is awful. And then they realize the damage they're doing to society. And some of them change, some keep doing the same thing, others don't care.
On that, family. But with that being said, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get right into the video.
The reason why there's always black diaspora wars on TikTok, and when I say black diaspora, I mean black Americans versus insert country in the black diaspora here, because that's what it always is. Like last week it was black Americans versus Africans in America. They had beef with Africans in America 2 weeks.
So we must remember something. TikTok is an attention-seeking platform. It's a little different than YouTube or any of these others where you can have chill content. So a lot of the stuff that goes on TikTok, like if you think the ancient Egyptian debate is heated on YouTube, go to TikTok where there are 30-second videos where they're being extremely racist. But yeah, so a lot of the things that we do see of this diaspora war or whatever may be Americans versus others or whatever, but like I said, you can find Nigerian versus this, Ghanaians versus that. You can find all types of stuff. It just depends exactly what you're looking for. And then, of course, you have people like Ethiopians or Middle Easterners, Black Middle Easterners, but you have to speak specific languages in order for you to care about some of these people. But I do understand that from a particular point of view, it could be African Americans versus something else if you basically if you get caught in that algorithm or that line.
Ago. They were
We don't have no beef with nobody, family. These folks have a gripe with us. They have a bone to pick with us, family. Let's be clear. Let's frame the narrative properly. We don't beef with them. We can't beef with people we don't think about. You dig? We don't wake up thinking about Black Brits. We don't wake up thinking about Jamaicans. We don't make up thinking about folks in the Caribbean or Africans. They wake up thinking about us, emulating us. They always have our name in their mouth.
Well, you're talking for a lot of people here, saying that nobody from America thinks about Black Brits. I mean, I've been hearing about that from American comedians, and it seems like the people in the audience understand the jokes. I've been hearing about that from so many different angles. I mean, to think that Black Americans never think about Black Brits is kind of a weird thought. Now, obviously, do Black Brits probably think about Black Americans more than Black Americans think about Black Brits? Probably. Do Africans think about Americans more than Black Americans, more than Black Americans think about Black Africans? I assure you, most Black people don't think about Black Americans at all. I assure you, we see what we see, but there's not a lot to be like, oh, I'm in Africa and now I'm going to think deeply about being African American. For the people who have time and for the people who realize that we need a unified diaspora, those people take the time and think about it. But for the most part, most people, they're thinking about their immediate rivals or their immediate opportunities who are right there. They're thinking about Ghanaian people. They're thinking about Ethiopians. They're thinking about Egyptians. They're thinking about all of these people who are right here. But we already did this on ChatGPT in the last video.
Set the record straight, but let's continue.
We're going to do a boycott. Before that, it was Black Americans versus Black Brits, and now it's Black Americans versus South Africans. But the common denominator is Black Americans, and people are getting mad at Black Americans, and I don't believe it's their fault. The ones that know and understand don't need to listen to this. But if you're confused as to why it seems that the diaspora is coming for you, I'm going to break down why it is that way, okay?
So I chose this video very specifically because I know it's going to sort of depict the UK person. Now, so far, I don't agree with any of them. I'm just listening. So I want to see which direction this video is going to go. And will I find it leaning on one side or the other, or will it be like most of the other videos where I don't agree with the other person and I don't agree with him either, in terms of locking your people down and saying these are my people and people outside of that don't qualify?
Brace yourself, family. Put on your seatbelt. You know we about to go on this roller coaster. You dig? Put on your seatbelt, family.
So basically, America has taught Americans to believe that America is the center of the world, and that is a fact. I live in America. I cannot tell you what's going on. Every time my mom calls me, she's like, wasn't it on the news? Wasn't it? What? Don't you know what's going on in England? Wasn't it on the news? I'm like, no, mum, because America does not show me English news. America don't care about English news. America don't even care about American news. America just shows me what's going on in LA.
What she's saying is true for many countries. Most countries are focused on their own stuff. They don't portray the rest of the world. I mean, I can show you stuff from all kinds of countries in Africa, which most people around the world would have no idea was even happening, whether it's cinema or any of that. Yeah. And then we can go into, is it true that America has been advertised as like a very centric place? Like, forget Black Americans, just America as well. Like, do the people come across as having a much bigger ego than other people around the world? And in some way, yeah, that's absolutely true. And to some degree, obviously it's deserved because they're probably the richest country in the world. And so they have no need to think about going to other places necessarily, but they still, there's enough Americans. I mean, there's like 350 million of them, so there's enough Americans where if only 10% of that population thinks about it, it's almost the same as other sized countries. I mean, take South Africa, for example, there's like 50 million people here. So if you just take 50 million Americans who think about the outside world, you already got South Africa's sized population thinking about outside countries. And I've watched people like Lao Shu who learn Chinese. I've watched, other Americans who learn Chinese, Japanese, Swahili. They learn Arabic. They learn all kinds of things, and they're in the millions in America. So, yeah, of course, there's going to be some people who don't care at all about learning anything about the rest of the world.
Literally, I don't even know what's going on in Texas or other states. Like, America is too big. They care about themselves.
All right, let's address this, family. Number one, well, a few things. Number one, you are a Black British woman who was born and raised in Britain, who has recently moved to the United States. Okay, you don't know anything about how Black Americans grew up.
Well, to be fair, she might not know exact details. Like, everybody doesn't know exact details, but a lot of people, you can tell how they grew up by how they behave as adults, right? Like, you can easily tell places in the world where there's poverty because you can tell that those people are poor as adults. And then, of course, you could just go look it up, like if people were poor in the past. And yeah, you can do research and stuff like that. Now, obviously, if you were raised there, you're going to have way more information. I mean, I've seen some people actually argue this experience versus knowledge. And obviously, experience is very good, but also knowledge is very good. Who was it again? There was two people who were arguing that, some cop or some whatever who studies every gang in America is going to have more information about gangs than some guy who is in a gang. And it's like, they're not going to have more information, but they're going to have different information. And I'll be honest, I think the Black Brit perspective is worth listening to some degree. But I do agree that she doesn't have experiential knowledge. Like, she doesn't have real experience in the country to be like, oh, they were raised this way. Now, to be fair, she said, I think all Americans, she made that part quite clear that, America feels like everyone was raised in the center of the earth or something like that. It feels that way. Now, of course, I could point to things like, and obviously things are changing today because of the internet, but you could point to things like sports and stuff like that only Americans really compete in, that are not that popular around the world. And then there's things that are popular around the world that America doesn't engage in at all, but the rest of the world does, from South America, Africa, Asia, Europe.
You didn't grow up here. You weren't even raised here. That's number one. These folks kill me talking about America has taught us. America teaches you. America does this. America does that. Ma'am, you're not from America. You weren't raised in America. You're Johnny come lately.
Yeah, I'm sure it'd be very difficult for me to find Americans that would say they live in the greatest country in the world. And it would be very difficult for me to go to YouTube and just find people saying that they were taught that America is the greatest country in the world. Let's be honest, like, that is something that a lot of people in America have been taught, which is not necessarily always true for every country, but of course, a lot of people are taught to have love for their country. Like I said, I could easily find videos of people saying that. So, and they're born in America and raised in America. So she's not necessarily wrong that some Americans, at least, obviously stereotyping them as all, but some Americans at least have been taught that. And she's not just pulling it out of nowhere.
You dig? See, these folks sit overseas and they think because they saw something on TikTok, they think because they saw something on Instagram. I grew up watching Living Colors. I grew up watching Fresh Prince. They think they know something about what we're taught and how we're raised.
Yeah, but she's not an example of that. She's literally in America right now. And I'm guessing she's interacted with children, adults, and people like that. So you're getting multiple generations at the same time communicating with you. It's possible. You don't have to wait 30 years until you find out how different generations act. You could just go to different sections and find out, get a rough estimate. Now, I will be honest here. A lot of the people who do talk trash about America are people who are watching American television, and part of American television is trash talking America. And so they end up trash talking America because that's part of American television. I've never heard someone who is exclusively watching African or Arabic or whatever stuff, and then they all of a sudden have an opinion about America.
They get their interactions with us through social media, and then they try to speak on us as if they're some type of experts, family. That's number one. You're in no position to tell us how we were raised. You dig? None. Number two, it is not Black Americans' job, nor is it America's job to educate you on what's going on in your land.
That is such a twisting of what she's saying. She's literally saying she's a British foreigner in America, and she wants to know what's going on in her home country because she's in a foreign country, and she wants to know that people back in her home place are fine, and she can't find anything in a country as big as America that will give her some level of opportunity or ability to see. Now, to be fair, I mean, it's called the internet. She could just look it up. It's very easy. But I can see her point. It's a very simple one, which is, if everything is regional in America and you're trying to figure out what's going on in your home country, you might find yourself stuck or confused, and then information reaches you too late or whatever. But that's my opinion of what she is saying. She might be saying what you're saying. Maybe she's just saying, like, America, educate me about my homeland. That seems like a very large claim from what she was saying.
Last time I checked, this ain't Britain. You dig? She's talking about her. My mother called me. My mother called me. Do you know what's going on in Britain? No, ma'am. You're living in California. Why would we be talking about what's going on in Britain?
I mean, I don't know, for the same reason why there's like hundreds of documentaries by Americans on North Korea, why there's like thousands of documentaries about Russia, and people traveling to those places with millions and millions of views, for the same reason why there's people who go to Britain. I mean, I don't even want to know. The number on Britain is enormous. Since they're an English speaking country, it's easy for people from America to go there. And basically, the reason why they talk about it is because it's just another place on earth. It's not that big a deal. I mean, I know you're trying to set up this thing of like Americans. Well, basically, though, you're kind of agreeing with her, saying that Americans don't care about other places in the world, which is weird. You're like aggressively agreeing with her.
In California, they love trying to shame us. Oh, you're so self-centered. Ma'am, we're living in America. Okay? A lot of these other cultures, they have this weird thing where they're living in Scotland, they're living in the UK, they're living in Nigeria, but their primary focus is on America all damn day.
Well, to be fair, they might be living in those countries, but they might have some kind of satellite interest in those countries. Either they move there, they plan on moving there, they've got financial interests there. They could be having all kinds of things related to, let's take it even smaller than that. Their entertainment comes from America, which is not illegal. last time I checked. It's okay for you, and so you're concerned about the people who are entertaining you. What happened? Like, are they okay? Like, if you find out some musician that you like died, you kind of want to know like what's going on. Like, why is some guy who I thought was like the man all of a sudden dead? Believe it or not, we live in a global world, and more and more people are going to care about America as much as more and more Americans care about other countries. I mean, I know it's kind of strange, but there's a lot of. In fact, let's just go back a little bit. There's a lot of Black British people who are like really famous in America. I mean, KSI would be an example. I don't watch him, but it's a great example.
They're sitting up there soaking up America all day. We don't do that over here. We have too many issues. We got too much motion going on state by state, nationwide, let alone trying to worry about what's going on in dry and boring Britain.
I mean, that's okay if you speak for yourself. Like, no one is forcing you to pay attention to dry and boring Britain. You're watching a video from someone from Britain, which makes me think you have some wants about dry and boring Britain. I know I know at least from other videos that some important Black people from around the world, which means you more than other people in America like other people from around the world. I mean, your entire channel, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but your entire channel is about talking about Black people from around the world. Although most of it is not necessarily uplifting content that's like, hey, look how great we are when we work together. It's more like, oh, look at this person who thinks that, who's, projecting onto us that they don't like Americans or any of that stuff. It's like, you're very focused on that type of people
that you fled from. But here's the thing, ma'am. Let me put you on a little game.
So I don't know if within FBA circles, or maybe it's in America or something, if the word flee is like a very bad word. But the word flee in most countries means that you're very clever and that you left a dangerous situation. Like, only, I mean, I hate to say it, morons stay somewhere where others flee. What's that verse in the Bible? Only fools go where angels fear to tread. The word flee does not mean it doesn't mean what you think it means in other places. And obviously she didn't flee the UK. She just went to America for work. And I think it's working if you already knew her.
If you want to know what's going on in Britain, watch the BBC. Follow.
You know what's very interesting about what he said? Like, if you want to know what's going on in Britain, watch the BBC. And I think it's a good start. But does he know that the BBC covers a lot of countries as well? Like, does he know it covers Africa? It covers many places. I mean, a lot of Africans watch the BBC.
Black British content creators, immerse yourself. We live in the internet era. You can find out what's going on in Britain. You dig? Look on the internet. Subscribe to The Guardian or whatever the other news channels and news outlets y'all have.
Like I said, the news is a start, but YouTube has become probably one of the better places to get information about a specific place when you go there. And make sure you watch different people. You don't want to watch propagandists, because they're going to tell you like, oh yeah, go to where the Taliban is. They're so friendly. Like, you don't want to get stuck in a country that you would never go to. But you do want to get a variety of information. Probably the news is a good place to start with. Then you go to YouTube. Then you go to, I wouldn't go to Twitter, but you can go to different places and find out exactly what's going on around the world. Which is why I technically disagree with both of them a little bit, which is, with the internet, more people from around the world have now started to care about different people around the world, partially because the world is not siloed as it used to be.
It is not our job to educate you on what's going on in your land. Because, like I said before, they have this weird obsession with us, and they think because they've been so obsessed with us for decades that we're supposed to be obsessed with them.
Obsessed is a strong word, but if I just took what you said, that would sound like mutual respect. If I don't use the word obsessed, like just because they looked into us, we look into them a little bit. That just sounds like two people who have some kind of mutual respect for each other's lands. It's not that. I don't get it. I don't get why it feels like he's making this case like the best people in the world are the people who just don't pay attention to the rest of the world and just focus on their home world. What's that called again? There's like a certain thing, a certain word for people who only care about what's in front of them.
And then when we're not obsessed with them, when we don't sit over here and talk about Black Brits, we don't sit over here and talk about Africans, we don't sit over here and talk about Caribbeans all damn day and what's going on in Tanzania or Kenya or whatever other random African country, then they sit up here and act like it's something wrong with us.
Okay, firstly, you don't talk about, well, I mean, you do talk about them, but people that you're using as an example who don't talk about those countries, those are those people. But there are a lot of people who talk about all kinds of countries. I mean, you said the internet. Like, you can literally go on the internet right now and write Americans want to, and then write any country want to go to, and write any country, and you will see millions of hits. Write any country you want, you will see millions of hits. You will choose a language, American speak, and then choose a language, and then whatever, pick anything you want. You will find things everywhere. So this idea that like, oh no, no one cares about these random places. No, a lot of people care about these random places. I mean, they've been caring for decades, to be honest. And why wouldn't they? You know how much opportunity there is overseas? Why wouldn't they?
You have main character syndrome. No, ma'am. We have our own issues. We're living within the culture we created. We're not being weird. We're concerned about what's going on in our house. And there's nothing wrong with that, family. I want y'all to understand there's nothing wrong with putting ourselves first and being concerned with your native brothers and sisters.
Okay, so I feel like he overplayed what she was saying before, but I think now he's underplaying what she's saying before. Obviously, she didn't mean that they should be more concerned about British stuff than they are about the people in their immediate vicinity. She just meant like, I can't find any place on television, a dying thing, but I can't find anything that can easily like direct me to some piece of information. Now, of course, some people don't want to use the internet in some cases because television is sort of, I mean, let's use the word regulated a little bit. So a lot of the information you get there is going to be somewhat accurate. Whereas if you go on the internet, it's going to be like, oh, London is on fire. I'm sure I could write that right now and I can find videos with tens of thousands of views.
Concerned with what's going on locally, then statewide, then national. Okay? Stop letting these folks shame you into thinking, oh, you have to be knowing what's going on around the world. No, you don't.
If you want to remain an ignorant person, then no, you don't need to know what's going on around the world. If you want to be part of those compilations where they put out a map and then they say, hey, can you point to America? And they can't. Now, to be fair, I think a lot of those are skits. I don't believe that most Americans can't point to America. Feel free to correct me, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that most people in America would not know where the continent of America is.
You dig? When your house is in shambles, when you're trying to get things done in your house, which Foundational Black Americans are trying to do, it is your priority, it is your duty to focus on your house and not what's going on in Britain. You dig?
Well, the analogy would be sweep your floor before you sweep your neighbor's floor. But that becomes important when you're talking about things that are not that important. But, you know, if we use the neighbor image, if you're sweeping your floor but your neighbor's house is on fire, then it's probably more important for you to hose down that house, help the person put out the fire because it's going to affect your house as well, than it is for you to sweep your floor. So that just extends that image. So it depends how big the issue is, whether or not you should pay attention to another country.
But let's continue.
I have a joke where I say, America is the Florida of the world.
Okay, so she starts it off by saying it's a joke, but if we take her seriously on what she's saying, then obviously I don't agree with her, but I don't agree with her on two fronts. One, obviously, I don't think there's something that wrong with Florida. I know there's like this huge stereotype about Florida man and how crazy Florida is or whatever. But if you go and look at a lot of statistics about Florida, it's very similar to the rest of America. Obviously, there's some stuff that's going to be obviously very different, but I think what she's trying to get at is that America comes across as very wacky to some people, but I think that's just the silliness, and Florida comes across as very wacky to some other people, but again, that's silliness. We talk about millions of people.
Americans will get this. That's how, you see how Americans think Florida is? That's how the world thinks America is.
You can always tell the type of information someone is getting by things they say, which they think is universal, but only applies to a few people. So some people might not even, in America, might not even understand the Florida thing, but the type of entertainment that you consume might tell you that Florida is like a different place or something like that. And a lot of Americans run with a stereotype and whatever. Now, of course, think about Florida, you're thinking about beaches, palm trees. That's one of the other images that you get. And to use another example, it's like Dubai. Dubai has a multiple image thing where on one hand they have a this futuristic city, and then on the other hand there's like a dark underworld where they exploit foreigners.
And so essentially we look at America, the rest of the world looks at America, and they think that America is stupid because America acts like America is the be all and end all, but the rest of the world know that it isn't. And so by default, Black Americans may think that way. Not only.
So obviously I disagree with what she's saying. If I understand it, I feel like there's a lot going on in what she's saying. I mean, first she says, I think some people in the world might think that Americans are stupid because they don't know a lot about the world, which is such a difficult thing to go through. It's like, is she saying she's one of those people that she thinks Americans are stupid, or is she saying there's other stupid people around the world who think that Americans are stupid because they appear as if they don't know about the rest of the world? I actually have no idea how to tear that on. But if she's saying they're stupid, then that's dumb, obviously. And if she's saying that it's let's just go with that. If she's saying that the rest of the of Americans are dumb because they think that America is an important part of their world, then yeah, that's not very clever.
Lord, let's break this down, family. Number one, I had to even look up, what does America think about Florida? What was that supposed to mean?
Okay, so good. So this is the part where it gets to be interesting. So what she's saying about America is true in a sense that America is sectioned off into sections. So there's a part of American media that all they do is talk about, and you researched it, talk about how bad Florida is or something. There's some places where you get Southerners talking about how awful New York or California is, and then you have people from California talk about how racist the South is, and you have all kinds of stuff like that. And people who are consuming American content, obviously they're like, oh, you're talking bad about your own country, so we're just gonna agree with you because, of course, what else can we do? I mean, you're saying that one place sucks. Now, someone like me, I'm gonna go do the research, and then obviously I'm gonna realize, like, oh, that's just a section of entertainment. Half of the people talking about Florida don't even care. Like they don't even know anything about Florida, and they don't even care, but they're just joining in because they're just joining in. So that's that whole section right there. Now, obviously, she consumed some Americans who talk about Florida, and then she's taking it seriously, and yeah.
America's the Florida of the rest of the world. Foundational Black American family. Again, this woman is British. Okay, she's a Black Brit who was born in Britain, raised in Britain. Now she's trying to talk about how Americans view Florida. Put it in the comment section. How do we, as foundational Black Americans or Americans, view Florida?
Well, so I'll start with the international point of view. Most people internationally do not subscribe to this view that she has. Like I said, she's consuming American entertainment. But most people around the world, when they think of Florida, they think of, firstly, I mean, most people I know will probably think of Flo Rida, and then they'll think of other musicians in the area. They'll think of the party scenes. They'll think of the beach. They'll think of stuff like that. They won't just think like that meme that's been going around in certain sections. So let's get that out of the way real quick. One of the things that makes me think about Florida a lot from a history point of view is Miami. Obviously, I mean, it's called Miami now, and I've heard people who are Hispanic come to America and say Miami, and people always correct them. But the reason why they're saying it like that is because the word looks like a Native American word, because it is a Native American word. And yes, the way you pronounce it for real is Miami. And the Miami areas, sections, obviously today is known for wealth. It's known for plastic surgery. It's known for beautiful women, all this other stuff. But at the same time, a lot of people outside of America have no idea that Miami is in Florida. So they'll have a completely different opinion about Miami and Florida because they don't know that these two places are connected. There was a point in my life, it's not now, but I could name like almost every state in America, and I could name a city inside of it. And then I could do that with, several other countries. But yeah, now it's a little, it feels like if there's an internet, why are you memorizing things? So my point is, depending on where you're starting, whether you're into history, math, money, women, men, clothes, whatever, you're going to look at Florida very differently. And it's not just for Americans. This idea that people outside of America look at Florida that way is not true at all. That's just a meme from inside America, from a specific point of view. I don't even want to say liberals, but there's certain type of people who look at it. It's not liberals. It's like a pessimist type of person.
How do we view Florida? Now, what she's trying to refer to, and I had to look it up, family. There was a meme going around. This shit was damn near a decade ago.
So he's saying there's a meme that went around 10 years ago, which makes me believe that he actually doesn't know. The meme is still going on right now. The reason why it slowed down is because a lot of people realized that Florida sort of announces a lot of its news. And so crazy things are happening all over the world, including in other places of America and outside of America. And because Florida has some kind of law, I forgot it now because it was a long time ago, but they've got some kind of law where they sort of broadcast some of the crazy stuff that's going on there. It came across as if it was more crazy. But of course, there's certain African countries, like Zimbabwe is a good example, but there's a lot of them that have free press. And so you hear crazier stuff if you pay attention to their news, and you think that crazier things are happening, but they're just putting it on the news.
where people were talking about all the crazy reports, police reports going on in Florida, like a man humping a tree, X, Y, and Z. So they had a Florida meme, like, hey man, Florida be in its own little world. You dig? So of course, them overseas, because they're always in our business, they're always
Don't use this woman as a stand-in for other people. This is where you're going to be just like her. She is wrong about the Florida thing because she's thinking that it's something universal because of a few videos she probably watched. And now you're going to think it's universal that people think this Florida thing from outside. If I go to most people today, I just walk around and I ask them, what do you think about Florida? They're gonna be like, I've never even heard of it. There's no, and I mean people who care about America, but the people who care about America, I mean, they could probably name 4 places. I mean, New York, Washington, D.C., California. They could probably name Texas. They could probably name those places. They are not naming Florida. In fact, if I ask them, is Miami in Florida, they're gonna be like, huh?
just searching for any little thing Americans are talking about. So now they sat over there and said, hey, Americans must look at Florida a certain way.
So you just Googled this thing like 10 seconds ago, and now you know the opinions of all people outside of America on something that you just Googled 10 seconds ago.
Americans must think Floridas are stupid. Floridians are stupid. No, we don't. That was a meme. That was something that was trendy at the time.
Okay, but to be fair, it was trending around these newsy type of people, the people who talk about politics and the news and stuff like that. Not necessarily history or anything like that, but the news and stuff like that. And so even though it was a meme, some people, obviously comedians, talk about the news, so they understood that they were joking, a lot of them, but others were being dead serious, and they literally, like I said, someone had to clear it up and explain that actually Florida is not as crazy as other places where you can find stories which are ridiculously worse than anything in Florida. So yes, oh yeah, by the way, I said Miami tribe, I meant Miami Confederation. Make sure I specify that.
When we think about Florida, family, let's be clear. We think about the Sunshine State. Most people, when they think about Florida, think about vacation. We think about beautiful women, beautiful beaches. You dig, and a good time. Most people are going to Florida who are not from Florida for vacation.
So obviously, I already mentioned that part, and I agree with him that that's probably what most Americans think about, and it's also what most people outside of America think about when they think about Florida. This woman, like I said, she probably watched a couple shows, and then she made up her mind that Americans hate Florida. It's the same as like, some people will tell you like, oh, you can't live in New York. It's and then they'll throw something in there. And then people outside of America will have no context. And then they'll be like, oh, it's impossible to live in New York. And then they get there and they have some kind of low job and they can live in New York. And they're like, wait a minute. And then they realize that, New York, firstly, they'll realize there's New York City and then New York, the state. And then they're like, which one were they talking? It's like, there's a huge difference, obviously. Like I said, there's some context that is lost when you're a foreigner, which you can clean up by just looking for the information.
You dig? I don't know what these folks be talking about overseas. They actually think these memes that they see on Instagram are reality.
You just ran into it like 10 minutes ago. And also there's memes from America about Africa too. It's not like they don't have any memes about Africa in America. And yes, there's some African memes. Remember last time there was a video and the person talked about Africa. What was the meme that was there? It was something about that was making fun of Africa, like something like you gotta be tough to live in Africa. And he missed that it was a meme from Africa, which also spread also in America as well. But he missed that it was a meme and he thought it was something serious. It's not a big deal. People miss memes all the time and think they're real stuff. That's kind of the point of them, to sort of like, that's the social world. You kind of have to go through the nonsense and the real stuff, real information, cut through. You know, there's some people who watch some political streamers as if they're real political streamers when they're simply entertainers. But you won't know that until you get old enough.
They actually think that. So she saw a meme on Instagram and start, oh, this is what Americans think about people from Florida. No, we don't.
Some people did. I'm going to say that again. Some people did think that there was something extra going on with Florida.
No, we don't. We love our brothers and sisters in Florida. Florida has a very unique culture. And when we go to Florida, we're going there on vacation and to have a good damn time. We don't be sitting over here talking about them people from Florida dumb. No. And it's interesting that you took a meme, you took that concept and said, well, America's the Florida of the world, and people look at America as dumb.
So now let's be fair. Some of that is also a meme. There's a lot of Americans who say meaningly that Americans are dumb. And they don't mean it seriously, obviously, because once you start asking them seriously, like, okay, so which country is better than America in blah, blah, dot, 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 then certain things start to collapse. So nobody is saying, you know what I mean? But in terms of, yes, there are some people who say all kinds of things about America. Some people say from around the world say America is like the safest place for, you know, whatever, migrants or whatever. Some people say whatever. People say all kinds of things. Some people from around the world love politicians that Americans hate.
But you fled over here to America. You fled over here to America. Why are people fleeing to the land of dummies?
I mean, I hate to do this because obviously this is something that is going to seem weird for me to say because it's so obvious, but I have to say it. She did not flee, obviously. She moved there for work opportunity. Fleeing means you ran away and you have no interest in going back to your land because it's so dangerous. That word flee, I can see, has a lot of weight where you come from. Fleeing, again, does not have as big a weight as you think in other places because fleeing is smart if that place that you're fleeing is a place to be fleed. And if it's not, then that's not fleeing.
That never makes sense to me. You're so smart. You're so educated. You're so from the UK. The UK is just so much better, but you flee over here with the dumb Americans. You dig? Because the reality is your dumb ass couldn't figure out how to pop off in the UK. So you said, listen, let me go over to America. Let me get around some foundational.
Okay, so I know some of you are going to be like, don't just let him call her a dumbass. But, you know, they're both calling each other dumb or calling the other country dumb. So I don't care at this point. It's so hard to talk about this video because I feel like something small is being made larger than what it actually is. And it's being spread. I feel like there's a lot of, you know, when there's like two people fighting and if you just let them fight, then it's over. But then they instead go into their friend groups and then they spread the information. And now you have two friend groups fight. This is what I feel like is going on here, where you have two people who probably should, you know, just argue this thing out between themselves, but somehow they're hitting everybody else. It's like generally Black UK people, all of you, here's information about you. Generally, all you American people, here's some information about you. It's like, I don't know. I feel like you're talking about very specific people.
Black Americans. You dig? Let me infiltrate the spaces that they have already opened up and made available to me. And let me get my career popping over here, family. Over here. Let me play a little video as a side note. This is her talking about all the things that she and other Black Brits have to do to make it in America.
before he plays his side note, I want to respond to what he has to say about this important part of the video where he says, basically, she's taking advantage of what was built before, which is what everybody does, right? I mean, she's not draining the system. She's literally going to look for a job where she's more likely to be exploited by the system than for her to exploit the system. Let's be honest. But I feel like, also, by the way, you can't be dumb for not making it as an actor, especially if you're trying to get a job and not just doing it on YouTube or somewhere, because there's a lot of incentive for those people to pick specific people, and they'll sort of, let's not talk about the movie industry. There's a lot of corruption. But yes, I disagree with him on, it's not fleeing, it's trying to find a job. And if you're going to have a much better opportunity in America, go do it. It's not like Americans have never moved to another country for job opportunities. I mean, go to Japan. You'll find some TV shows where there's like blonde ladies speaking Japanese and whatever on TV. I mean, you could go to Africa and find that too. Many places. There's a lot of black Brits too come back to West Africa and be on those weird shows. Well, those shows. There's nothing weird about them. They're just low budget.
Just to get to America, because she's an actor, she's fancies herself a comedian. Let's look at this.
So let's get into this video, apparently, where she's complaining about being a British person who has to try in America to become successful. One of the biggest film and TV show areas in the world.
Actors to make it in America. I think people think it's easy for black British actors to make it in America. It's not. It's very, very hard. So I thought I'd explain to you what you have to go through as a black Brit to even make it in America, just to even audition. So
peep this, family, peep this.
First of all, in order to audition for a role, you either need a visa or a green card. And the visa you can...
So remember some of what I said earlier, some of the information about another country that you're not going to get from the news, where it's going to start getting into the specifics. She's actually doing this by talking about America from the perspective of a British person. So to him, what he's might see as a direct attack, she's probably putting it out there for British people as like cautionary tale, like, oh, you can't find out things necessarily about your own country, and also, don't think that you're just going to come here and become an actor just because you're British or something.
Yeah, as a black British actor is an O1 visa, and it basically means an alien of extraordinary talent visa. And to get that visa, you have to prove that you're better than your job than an American. And what do you have to do to prove this? You need receipts. So you need to pay like $5,000. Then
they over there paying $5,000 just to get to America, but we're the dummies.
Well, if you're expecting a job, that doesn't make you dumb. I mean, you're expecting that you're going to get tons of that back.
We're so stupid. They came over here to be with the stupid people. Okay? The world looks at America as dumb. We look at you as dumb. We look at you as dumb. Why are you coming over here then? Why are you coming over here? But let's continue. It gets worse.
Then you have to have 6 or 7 letters from people in your field. And in those letters, those people are explaining why you would be an asset to the American entertainment industry. On top of that, you need about 6 years of press, like just all this documentation of press in your country to prove that, you're really that girl and or that guy in the UK. The letters was the hardest part, because you can get these letters and they still not accept you.
Going through all that is kind of crazy. That's a lot of work. I don't know if there's a lot of people who could actually pull that off. Someone who actually does that is probably very, very dedicated.
I was lucky. The people that signed my letters were Daniel Kaluuya. He's a good friend of mine. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who just won 6 Emmys for Fleabag. And Sir Lenny Henry, who's a famous comedian in the UK and a Sir. I also had the head of TV networks in the UK, and they all wrote these letters and they all signed them.
And as a side note, family, peep how a lot of these black Brits get over here and then they form their own little groups and connections and they bring other black Brits.
Okay, but to be fair, that's part of the system, as she explained. That's the rules, that you need somebody who can attest to your talents.
Okay, because they sit over here and tell the lie, we all black. You dig? But as soon as they get over here, they start trying to bring over more and more of their people. That's very interesting. But go ahead.
And that, with my money and my...
When I was much younger, I paid attention to actors and actresses. Now I kind of don't care because I realize half of it is just gossip nonsense. If I want to know, the best thing you can know about an actor or actress is on the screen when they're acting and being real, not digging deep into their life. But I don't know if all of those people were black. Are they? I don't know. I have no idea who any of these people are.
6 years of press clippings, TV appearances, magazine articles, everything. All of that. Sent all that off to the American embassy. And that's just to apply. They still may turn you down. I had a friend who had a signed letter from Mindy Kaling herself to say she'd be an asset to the American industry, and America still rejected her visa. Another way you can work in America is if you have a green card. You get a green card by literally marrying an American. I have...
Boy, we got to do a whole video on the marriage scams.
Okay, but you can't do it from a black perspective only. Marriage scams around the world are not just, especially in America, are not just a black specific thing. But yes, there are some people who do marriage scams where they pay somebody to pretend they're in love with them, or actually someone who wouldn't marry them but loves them a little bit, marries them so that the person doesn't get removed from the country.
Okay, they're doing all this. Remember, everybody looks at America as the dummy. And in proxy, they look at black Americans as dumb too. But they're doing all this to get over here. This is black Brits. We know how the Africans and the Caribbeans roll. This is black Brits. They're over there marrying. They're over here negotiating.
By the way, I chose this video very specifically, or I chose it in specific for a very, very important reason, because it's not just an Africa and Caribbean thing. Like, oh, look at these other countries that have less money than us or whatever. It's just somehow black people are the focus of FBAs for some reason. When there's more, there's people who really hate you. There's people who don't look like any of the people you've talked about, and they really hate you. Like, there's nothing you could do to impress them.
Negotiating contracts for marriage just to become an American. We're the dummies, though. You want to get with the dummies so bad. Okay.
Friends that have done that too. I have friends that have married gay Americans just so that they could legally be in this country. It's a lot. So that's just an audition. So once you've got that,
all this just for an audition.
Once they say America says, yeah, you can come and audition, you now have to fly to LA or New York or Atlanta and audition for the role. And let's be clear, the role is American. So as a British person, you need to have an American accent down.
Cosplay. Here comes the cosplaying.
That is not cosplay. She is literally an actor. How's that cosplaying? You're literally an actor. Is it cosplaying when Americans play anybody, really? Or anything, a superhero, a god, whatever, slave, soldier. Is that all cosplaying? It's called acting.
Doing all this. Why are y'all cosplaying dummies? We're the Florida of the world. Why are you cosplaying dummies? I don't cosplay people who are dumb. You dig? I don't want to be like somebody who's dumb. I try to stay far away from people who are dumb, family. What about y'all? Put in the comment section below. Do y'all go around dumb people? Do you want to be around dumb people? I don't want to be around a crash out, a nigga who just, they look up and they got a gun with them all the time. And they just looking to start stuff where they're dumb. They might do something stupid. I'm not looking to be around those people.
Well, that's where we differ a little bit. Now, I'm definitely not trying to be around no crash out. Because a crash out is someone who will take you down with him. I'm not trying to be around a crash out, but a dummy, you can be around a dummy. You know, what's that old saying? I forgot which comedian said this, but he said, um, "I'd rather be around a nice dumb person than be around a smart asshole." Because I promise you, that person who's smart but is, full of it, that person is going to be impossible to live with, because the constant, I mean, I've literally lived around people like this before. They're literally going to make your life hell because they're going to have something to say about you all the time. If you go to work, you go anywhere, you meet these people, some a polite person beats someone who's smart, but they're a smart ass, not just smart.
And I damn sure are not going to try to act like and emulate them. You got to have that Black American accent down pat, because that's what she's saying, the Black American accent. Okay.
Yes, because she's black and she's probably going to be given black people roles in Hollywood. But if she was white, they would give her white people. She still have to go through the same process, but she'd be given white people roles. And again, it's not her choice to do this. She just wants to go where the money is, for acting. And then at the same time, and again, this is not like I'm siding with one person or the other. It's just both of them have some weird stuff in what they're saying. But yeah, what she's saying makes sense. That yeah, it makes sense a little bit.
Let's continue. This is very interesting.
A lot of my black British friends walk into audition rooms with the American accent. They don't even have a British accent. They don't even say hello in their natural accent. They're just straight,
Oh,
yo,
Lord.
my name's Darian. They come in straight with the American accent because they just don't want to slip out of character.
Well, it's definitely worked out a lot for some people. This is why, by the way, this is why um art is dying a death. Art is so difficult. That's why it's dying a death. One, there's AI coming in that's going to replace like tons of people. Stuff that should be done by like 6 or 7 people has been done by one computer. And then you have the other problem, which is uh the alternatives are much easier to make. Like making a song versus making a YouTube video podcast is way easier. But this is probably why art is dying. And so to see someone with this level of dedication, what I'm getting from this video is dedication. I'm not really getting, uh, oh, this person hates African Americans.
And then yeah, you're auditioning. You might not even get it. So you're in America, and people are living in their cars.
Oh,
People
Lord.
are like you can't make any money. You can't do anything. You're just waiting for that big break. And that's what Idris Elba had to do. Idris Elba had to live in his car. That's what I did. I mean, I didn't live in my car, but when I first came to LA, I lived in my manager's mother-in-law's spare room, and I was going to meetings and staying in a spare room in a bungalow in Burbank.
Yeah, that's like typical actor stuff. You hear that from Americans too. What was that? There was a guy who was talking about how like there's so many people, and it sucks because I talked about this before, where it's like there's the 5 things, and it sucks because there's so many of us, because we used to be, or artists used to be so special back in the day in history, where there'd be the one musician in the whole tribe, and whoever it is, people would love that person, but that would be a tribe of like 100 people. So for every 100 people, there'd be one guy who'd sing to you, and you couldn't record it, so you'd have to request the person every single day. And then now there's like one singer for like every 10 million people, who is like up there, who they're gonna listen to every day and stuff like that. And so it gets so complicated, where a lot of people who naturally should be performing for people around them can't, because those people are not that impressed. Usually because you're around them. You're like, I'm looking for someone who's far away from me.
To be around dummies. Just to be around the dummies. They doing all this to be around the dummies.
And then I lived in the CEO of the former head of HBO's pool house.
Oh Lord. And it ain't no telling what he had her ass doing.
I'm glad he said it first because I was thinking it the entire time. So yeah, that is a very powerful position for someone who could hire you. You know, it could be that's too high a position for the person for them to have you there, and yeah. Now, obviously, I have no idea. It's probably just a nice guy or something. I don't know. I have no idea. But, that's not a good space. You do not want someone who could hire you for a job to be the guy that you're living inside their house. The way he said it was so crass.
Boy, we know how they operate in Hollywood, family. And this is why a lot of these folks.
Okay, it's time to slow down. It's time to slow down. Remember what you said about my Florida and how some people have memes about the place. And yes, obviously there's been a lot of people in Hollywood, which, it's kind of a stereotype that all people in Hollywood are these perverts, but a lot of jobs, there's a lot of perverts. I mean, I live in Africa. I would tell you that a lot of people will hire you in a perverted way. It's in different sections, and I know in America it definitely is because it's in the news. There are people who hire maids, who hire whatever pilots, and they're all crazy. I mean, I don't want to bring up specific companies, but there's some people who work for a let's say a very famous company with fizzy drinks. I guess I don't know what they call them in America, but the ones it starts with a C, kind of like the drug, where there's been a lot of accusations in offices and stuff like that. So let's not do the meme version of Hollywood. Just like you said, like obviously, what do we think about Hollywood? I mean, people think a lot of different things about Hollywood. Now, obviously, like I said, the position that she was in, sleeping on somebody's floor while the person is like a boss and all of that, that's not a good position to be in. I mean, if we're men, we kind of know what someone probably thinking.
Be sitting over here getting these roles from Britain. Okay, I've been hearing rumors, and I'm not going to do an episode on it until it becomes official, if it becomes official. But they got Cynthia Erivo. The rumor is they got her out here playing Shaka Khan in a new biopic. Okay, this is how they be getting these roles. Boy, they be sitting up in these old white execs pool house, and I'm not saying that she's doing anything, but that's very interesting that he's letting a random black woman from Britain. She's staying over here. She's staying in the pool house. Lord, what else are y'all doing?
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that in public personally. I don't think she's doing anything weird. I'm not accusing her of anything, but I wouldn't have said that in public. That sounds too weird. It's like, what? He's just a really, 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 really nice guy to some random. Maybe you're not random, but if he was nice, why didn't get you a real place to stay far away from him?
To get put on. This is how some of them get put on to these positions, family. It ain't, they're so much more talented. Okay? They're over here doing God knows what. Okay? Allegedly.
I agree with him. Allegedly. I have no idea what the guy is up to. Again, he might be a really nice guy and he's just feels sorry for her and thinks she's got a lot of talent, and yeah, that makes sense.
I'm just giving food for thought.
Like I was out here. I was really doing it. And all of that just to audition, just to be part of the conversation.
Just to be a part of the dummies.
It's a lot. And you need to understand that black British actors in the UK, they're not already successful in the UK. They're not getting opportunities in the UK. It's like black people make up 3% of the UK and 1% of television.
So you're so much smarter than us. Y'all are so because she's going to go on in the other video talking about how they're so unified. All this unity, all this smartness. Remember, Black Brits say they know where they're from. They're not lazy. You dig?
I mean, I didn't hear her say that part. Maybe you're talking about somebody else, but don't, the best way to talk about it is to not mix other people's opinions with her specific opinions. But those people who say that, those people who say Americans are lazy when they live in Britain, those people are stupid, obviously.
They know geography, yet you can't get it popping in the UK? Okay.
Oh, I thought I was going to say something else. Yeah, you can know all the geography you want. It doesn't mean you're going to be a famous actor or actress in anywhere, really. I mean, you could be, let's be honest, you can be really dumb and be an actor or a musician or a lot of things, really. And I don't like using words like dumb and stuff because usually that, that's for like school education type stuff.
Okay, you got to run to the land of dummies where the dumb Black Americans are in order to get put on. You got to play us. Interesting.
So if you're a Black British actor and you've made it onto TV in the UK, you're exceptional, because to get that part, you would have had to take it from a white person, because white people don't even write roles for Black people with Black people in mind. So yeah, It's a lot of hard work just to get here and be.
I mean, he's just going to skip over that part, but that's a very important thing. In the Western worlds, even though Black people are part of their countries, they don't write Black people into their scripts. Now, obviously, America does a little bit more. A lot of it is very stereotypical, but a lot of Americans write for Black characters in America and stuff like that because they've got a much larger population and all of that, blah, 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 blah.
Part of the conversation. It's not easy. And so, yeah, I just thought I'd just show you really what it's all about, so that we can have more, less divisiveness and more peace around Black British actors starring in roles in America. It's not easy.
All right, and this is why they love getting these Black British actors. They come over here, they're doing all these things, and God knows telling what else.
Okay, but he can't. I think he's stretching it now. Like, you already mentioned it once. Like, keep talking about it, you start make it come true. But yes, I do know about people like Thandie Newton and stuff who've expressed directors and people like that who have taken advantage.
As a woman, and the director asked me to sit with my legs apart. The camera was right between, positioned where it could see up my skirt.
So I want to make sure that you understand that it's not about making fun of anything. These situations are very, very serious, and they take place in places like that, which of course it's like, yeah, people of power, they can be really, really
to put my leg over the arm of the chair, and before I started my dialogue, think about the character that I was supposed to be having the dialogue with, and how it felt to be made love to by this person. And I was thinking, this is so strange. Why would I need to do that? But this is the director. He is talking. There's the casting director.
And then, of course, that's the second risk of this, is that you're going to think a lot of things are normal, or maybe that the person is leading you down the right path. And as she mentioned, there was a woman in the room. And so she thought, okay, well, if there's a woman in the room, maybe it's not that weird.
It must be normal.
It must be normal. I'm 18 years old, and I'm thinking this is obviously something that I was in a protected, there were boundaries. And 3 years later, I was at the Cannes Film Festival, and my husband and I bumped into this rather drunk producer, a British producer, who mentioned the director that I had this audition with, and he looked very sheepish and walked away.
By the way, let me explain why I even know about this particular video. It's because obviously I saw Thandie Newton, and I thought, oh, someone who's from South Africa who's famous in America. I think she's from like Zimbabwe or something. And she's famous in America. Let me go look her up. And I looked her up in like 2010. And when this is the first video I saw, I was like, wait a minute, do people know about this? And it's got a little bit of views, but obviously the other movements that came later that were talking about stuff like this, they hadn't happened yet. She was a lone wolf in a sense. Now, to be certain, I've seen tens of videos like this going back to like the 60s where women were saying like, there's some people over there who are creepy, but it didn't do anything for anybody.
And my husband grabbed him later and said, why did you start to say something and then didn't? And it turned out that the director who went on to make the film and who I was auditioning for used to show that video late at night to interested parties at his house. A video of me touching myself with a camera up my skirt. So you were abused, but at the time.
So I'm going to assume Chase here was not just trying to be funny, but had legitimate concern like myself on Hollywood, because Hollywood does have a reputation for this, obviously because it's on TV. But like I said, people do this stuff in many different areas of work. Believe it or not, being an actor or a director or something doesn't make you special or especially attracted or trying to take advantage. It's in many areas. It's in schools. It's everywhere. And it's a serious issue. So, yeah, I just wanted to show that.
To get over here, they're damn near selling their soul to get over here with the dummies. Then they get over here and start talking about Black Americans are dumb and Black Americans are this and America's this and America's that. Okay. Very interesting. But let's get back to the other videos.
Yeah, so if you are correct about the way she's phrasing it, yes, I agree with you that she probably shouldn't say that, especially if she should have some level of gratitude for the country that might employ her and stuff like that, and she should educate herself on the subject just to be a little more balanced on the issue.
That Black Americans are aware that their Black American culture has been exported all over the world and is aware that the whole world has their eyes on them. And again, if you're in a country and you're aware that the whole world has their eyes on you, but you aren't aware of any of them, you're going to believe subconsciously or consciously that it's because you are the best or you are better. And it's not necessarily true. It's actually because you're the most popular. So like America is like, the kid in school, yeah? There's a kid in school and he's popular.
Damn, he's getting real angry over there. He's just pissed.
But he thinks he's popular because he's good at maths or he's good at science or he can do cartwheels or he's really funny or he can burp the alphabet. He thinks he's popular for that, but he's actually popular because he's the only kid in school with a pool and everybody wants to use his pool. Lord. That's what America is. Like, Black Americans think that, not all of them, some of them on this app think that they're the best at what they do. And
it's getting real hard to dissect this and figure out what anybody is trying to say. So I think she's trying to say that a lot of people want to go to America, but they're not necessarily interested in Americans and blah, blah, blah. I think that's what she's trying to say, which is incorrect. A lot of people are interested in Americans, and yeah, some people look at them like the coolest people or whatever. That's why a lot of their art gets exported. Not necessarily that it's better than everything else. I mean, you saw with K-pop or whatever that things can be exported in any direction.
Not to say...
Hold on. Let's break that analogy down. Because the hate starts to ooze slowly out. Again, number one, you cannot tell foundational Black Americans what they believe or how they think. You would need.
Yes, she can't tell them what they hope or what they believe, but I hope that nobody can. Otherwise, their opinions are too on the same track. Like, obviously, I'm thinking they have a diversity of opinions.
Either a foundational Black American, you were not even born here, you were not even raised here. Ma'am, you are British. Number two, this whole thing of y'all think y'all better. That is nothing more but a projection of your insecurities.
To be fair, some people do think they're better, but to be fair, some people in the UK think they're better too, and some people from Africa think they're better. There's people all over the place who think they're better. So she might be talking to those people specifically. Also, she did mention that she was talking about the people on this app. I mean, I did you hear that part? These are Black Americans who are on this app. In other words, the people who are engaging in the fights that she is seeing, they're the ones that she's saying, well, throwing out a theory out there for why they think the way they do. Now, I don't agree with her. I think it's very closed in, and this is one of the problems with TikTok and stuff like that, where some people say it's a sort of weird algorithmic propaganda to get Americans to fight with each other.
Okay? Y'all think we're better than you. And why do you think that? Because in your situation, you have to come over here as a Black Brit and you have to play us. See, playing you is not good enough. Playing you is irrelevant. Playing you, there's not a market for that. There's not a Black Brit. Ain't nobody running around here trying to see Black British culture.
Okay, so he's going to agree with her aggressively. So basically what she said he agrees with then. He agrees that because it's exported everywhere, he thinks that it's better. I mean, he could have just agreed with it. He didn't have to go down the other route.
People don't even know what that is. But playing us, foundational Black Americans, means something. Playing us, you become a millionaire. Playing us, you become global. Emulating our style, our lingo, our fashion. And that's why your ass is so insecure. Excuse my language, family. That's why they're insecure.
Okay, so it's time to give him some of his own medicine. Well, what do you know about their insecurities and what they think personally? You weren't raised in Britain. You weren't born there. You weren't raised there. And whatever the third one he said. So how can you know about these specific things? But, obviously you can know from what this woman is saying. You could say that she is insecure. I'm not going to defend her and say she's definitely not insecure, but saying that who is they? I only see one person giving this opinion. And if I see another one, that's just another one.
So what they do, because they think, hey, man, I'm really better than them. I can play them better than they can play them. They project that insecurity onto us. And then they start running around talking about, we think we're better. We don't even think about you. In order to think we're better than you, man, we have to think about you. We don't even think about you. I have never grown up in my household from a time I was a little kid to the time I am now at 30 years old, not with my parents, not with my cousins, not with my family and friends, would we ever set up in the barbershop, at the lunch counter, at dinner, at a restaurant, in the kitchen, at a family reunion, and talked about Black Brits.
Well, that's kind of sad because they do need allies from other places around the world who are Black, because they are outnumbered and surrounded. As you can see, they have to leave their own country to go to another country, as you describe it, fleeing to another country, and they have to rely on their less racism, I guess, in order for them to be on TV playing characters that have nothing to do with their home country.
Never. We don't even think about y'all. We don't compare. You're not a comparison. You're not a comparison. But see, it's the opposite where you're from. Y'all been sitting up for decades thinking, watching, and talking about Black Americans.
And yes, because if you're Black, you can't not think about Black Americans if you speak English and you bother to care about it. Just like how everyone around the world, including Black Americans, thinks about Africa, because to some degree Africa is a representation of Black people all over the world, and if you ignore it, then you're not going to understand why some people don't like you, why some people are jealous of your history, why some people want to change and want to tell you that your life starts in America and it starts there with slavery and all that other stuff. So you'll end up in a weird situation. Of course, you need to learn about the Black British experience a little bit so you can, just to understand it, start there. Although she has a very unique perspective, I'm sure she has some experience that is worthy of checking, but I wouldn't use her as a first example since she's already saying some weird stuff. But there's other people also. I mean, she's in like acting, so it's probably things that won't apply to the general Black British person.
And what we got going on in hating, jealousy, envy, just fuming at the mouth. You dig? So that insecure, that deep-seated insecurity about how we're always in the limelight, it gets to y'all. So you start projecting your insecurities onto us.
What's with the y'all? It's not y'all, it's one person.
Because you deep down inside think you're better. So you say, hey man, they must think they're better than me. No, we don't think about you. We're not weirdos like many of y'all are. Y'all are weirdos. Y'all sit over there all damn day.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. No, people are not just weirdos all over the world. Let's just get it out of the way. No, believe it or not, because of the internet, people are now spending a lot of their time facing screens and talking about places that they never would have talked about. They're not weirdos. In fact, it's pretty normal today.
Watching us, emulating us, talking like us, talking about how we ain't shit, we don't know where we're from, we're dumb, and then you hop your ass across the pond and play us. And boy, that really bites y'all in the ass. Boy, that really makes y'all insecure.
There's only 20 minutes left of this video, but I'll react to the rest of it another time because this is long enough. Jesus Christ. This guy's made the same point like 100 times now.